sir. No, sir.
Can you get a little closer to the camera?
Sure, sir.
Vishal, briefly introduce yourself.
Sir, I am Vishal Pattanayak. I belong to the temple city of Bhubaneswar, which is also the capital of Odisha. I have done my schooling from Barampur in terms of 10th and then 12th in Bhubaneswar, DAV Chandrasekharpur. After that, I did my graduation in electrical engineering from CET Bhubaneswar, post which I pursued a master's MBA in human resources from XIMB and a part of it from Warsaw School of Economics, Poland. After that, I was working with ICICI Bank as a senior human resource manager. Presently, I'm working as an assistant commissioner of CT and GST for the government of Odisha. My hobbies include playing sitar and poetry writing, sir.
Okay. Your introduction was a little lengthy. It was part of the DAF already. So, in case while making an introduction, you can minimize the words, because basically the DAF is already there in front of the board. So, anything important that you would like to flag, that's more important.
Sure,
Like
sir.
you studied in Poland also, Warsaw.
Yes, sir.
Was that part of the XIMB course or it was a separate course?
So it was a part of the XIMB.
Okay. Sandeep ji, kindly take forward.
Vishal,
Sir.
what do you expect of this session? Do you want a question answer thing or do you want just clarification? You don't want discussion in a depth?
Sir, I would primarily want a question answer form of discussion, which ends up with some form of clarification with regards to.
So, Vishal, you're from Khurda in Odisha, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me something about the olive ridley turtles.
So, olive ridley turtles are one of the 4 sea turtles that are found across the world. And in terms of the biggest aribada that olive ridleys have, the mass nesting, it is found in Rusikulya, which is in Ganjam district, bordering district of Khurda. Khurda also
You're frozen?
Also gets a few concern in terms of IUCN status.
Okay. So what are the challenges before your state vis-a-vis the public? What all Odisha needs to rank amongst the developed states of the country?
So the one of the primary factors is the per capita income of the state, which is lower than the national average, which means considering the fact that the population of the state is less, the economic growth needs to be much higher for it to be ranked among the top states of the country. And that would require conclusive investment in terms of employment generation as well as creation of the service sector, which is not well developed in case of the state. That includes tourism as the first part that is untapped, and then the food processing industries and food close industries, so that the growth can be decentralized and can reach areas like KBK, which have a lot of agricultural resources but have not been tapped into.
So do you think that the central schemes and the state schemes are inadequate to address these challenges?
So the schemes per se are not inadequate, but the implementation of them have been not up to the mark in many cases, as well as certain different schemes. Like presently, the government is mulling the creation of a bamboo scheme. This would primarily increase the investment into the bamboo sector as well as diversify the experiments with bamboo and livelihood. So such schemes would be necessary as well.
So fine, but it will be adding yet another scheme. So suppose you are in charge of the implementation of say 5 schemes, So what all would you do to see them implemented at the ground level without leakage of revenue?
So I could not.
Suppose you're in charge of implementation of 5 schemes, because you said implementation is the issue. So what all would you like to do to implement the schemes without leakage of revenue so that they benefit the public?
Sir, if I could take a minute, sir.
Please.
Sir, if I may. So, the first part of the implementation would be identification of the beneficiaries. That needs to be streamlined in a proper manner so that the targeted beneficiaries actually receive what is being focused at in terms of the scheme. That would require integration of the secretariat staff as well as the ground staff in a proper manner. Then the next part would be the project managers and the program managers training and skill development so that they are able to deliver it properly to a great extent. The third part would be the real delivery aspect of it and a continuous feedback with respect to what developments can be done through weekly target sessions and weekly discussions regarding the same. This would create a initial momentum to the scheme, and then a follow up with respect to the same would ensure that it sustains.
Many times it is seen that there is a gap between the financial achievements and the physical on ground achievement. How do you ensure that there is no gap?
So the primary focus would be plugging of the leakages that exist in the system. That includes the targeting of non-beneficiaries, that includes losses because of corruption, and that includes wasteful expenditure as well in terms of non-durable assets and non-durable structures, as well as over focus on revenue aspects rather than capital aspects. These primary four focuses can be taken up into account for financial and results being in sync.
Okay. Basically, site inspection.
Sorry, sir?
It's basically site inspections.
Sir, yes, sir.
Tell you exactly what's happening on ground.
Yes,
Because
sir.
sometimes in many states things happen on paper and not on the ground.
Sir, yes, sir.
So, how does behavioral economics equip you for your future role as a civil servant?
So behavioral economics is a brilliant tool in terms of changing the behavior of individuals without actually limiting or changing the options that they have. So it is a brilliant right-based approach process in which the options available to the individual stays the same, yet there are nudges to help them choose better. In that terms, it becomes a brilliant behavioral change aspect.
Okay. Thank you, Vishal. I'll hand you over to Dr. Jaydev for further discussions.
Thank you, sir.
Vishal, one advice again, like you should be looking interview ready whenever you go for any kind of DAP session or any mock interview.
Sir.
Reason being, I'm sure you'll not be going with this kind of beard and this kind of clothing to the interview. Would you be going there?
No, sir. No, sir.
Because if you go prepared for the interviews, the people who would be listening to you or looking at you, they could make some suggestion which could be very important.
Sir.
So in future, whenever you go in for this kind of interview before your original thing, so go interview ready. Okay.
Yes.
Now, about your choice of anthropology.
Yeah.
Why should an engineer choose anthropology?
So primarily three aspects to it are there. Why I chose anthropology. The first and foremost being anthropology as a subject when I started preparing was one of the best performing in terms of score. The second one being anthropology has a very huge commonality with the GS subjects. The third and the crucial part being since Odisha is a very tribal rich state, anthropology gives me perspectives into the realities of tribes as well. So these were the primary factors which I took into account.
What aspect of anthropology you could link up with situation in Odisha?
So the tribal issues and tribal concerns are something which are crucial, and that is something that I could understand. So if you allow me, I can give an example as well.
Okay, go ahead.
So for example, so the PESA Act, which provides the benefits of Panchayati Raj to the fifth scheduled states is something yet to be implemented in case of Odisha. This deprives a lot of rights in terms of community forest rights and everything that are implied through the Forest Right Acts. In case of Odisha, that becomes a limiting factor. This is something that I found in terms of anthropology.
What did you find this in anthropology subject?
Yes, sir. So anthropology also deals with the administrative aspect of these tribal management.
Okay. Now, in certain places, like say, example of Andamans, for example,
Yes,
there are some tribals whose population has been going down
sir.
rather than increasing.
So,
What could be the main reason for this?
a dwindling population primarily roots from two reasons that I could that I can think of, sir. One of them being the new forms of diseases that they are coming in contact with, which they do not have. Sorry, sir. Which they do not have any form of resistance to because of interaction with the general stream, from, let's say, because of tourism and everything. The second aspect being the population dynamics inside the groups are very less. For example, Sentinelese and Onges have population in double digit, which makes it difficult for them to reproduce and populate further. So that becomes the primary reason, sir, as per.
Do you think the policy regarding tribal population in our country is good enough?
So the policies have been guided a lot by the tribal punch sheet given by Warrior Elvin and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, former Prime Minister. Both of them have thought of it in that aspect, and the policies actually abide by them. But there are certain aspects to the policy which can be better in terms of implementation as well as understanding of the tribal realities.
No, my question is a little tricky.
So,
Whether the tribal should be left to live in their own culture, their food style, the way they live, or they should be benevolent interference in this.
If I have to take an anthropological stance, the primary focus should be ensuring cultural integrity while ensuring development. So, balance of both is necessary. The aspects of health and education is some form of benevolent intervention that the state can take up, but other aspects of the society wherein they live, the cultural aspect and everything, should be respected, as was upheld by Supreme Court as well in the Niyamgiri case. So those aspects are crucial to their existence because they are an integrated society.
Okay. So does Niyamgiri case of Supreme Court
Yes, sir.
talk about preserving tribal identity?
So it talks about preserving, it talks about the fact that tribal identity is critically linked with the forest ecosystem and they are inseparable. So the preservation of the forest ecosystem is also continuous with preservation of the tribal identity in that aspect. Now, it also focuses on the fact that majority of the aspects of tribes are integrated with each other, unlike the present society where they are not integrated that much. So, embedded system is what they are speaking.
Your knowledge of XIMB,
So,
human resource management that you learned there,
yes, sir.
do you think that will be useful in civil service?
So, I believe, sir, that the knowledge of human resource management that I learned at XIMB will be crucial in civil services. Sir.
Would you be specific? How do you use it?
Sir, if I could take an example. So the present issue of SIR, wherein the BLOs and their concerns are coming up, is to a great extent a staffing and a human resource problem because the workload that they are handling is not something that is getting distributed. the number of staff that are there are not appropriately empowered and appropriately numbered, causing majority of the issues with respect to SIR. So this understanding of human resources helps me appreciate their issues better and would help me provide better solutions to such a concern as well.
So say if you are district magistrate of Khurda
So,
and SIR is happening and you understand with your knowledge of XIMB that workload is so much more and SIR is to be done.
sir,
What is the solution in your mind?
sir,
Assume that you are the district magistrate of Khurda district.
sir, if I may take a minute, sir.
Please do.
So, sir, my solution would be three-pronged in terms of its approach. The first would be understanding of the staffing requirements, because the workload that has been provided almost ends up being 100 house-to-house visits every day, which is possibly difficult on a single individual's part. So the number of people who are actually working as BLOs need to be increased in that aspect. The second,
where do you get them?
so,
You come to a real life situation.
so,
Charles, you are district magistrate of Khurda. The manpower given to you is limited.
so,
Time frame has been given by the Election Commission of India.
so
the time frame you can't change. Manpower you cannot increase.
So, thank you, sir.
When you say that your knowledge of human resource management from XIMB will be helping you in the situation of SIR, what would you be doing?
So, if I may attempt again. So, the primary gap would come out being the fact that every BLO is not empowered sufficiently enough to understand the SIR functionalities. So, a brief training process is something that would help them a lot in terms of ensuring how the SIR would be undertaken and how easily they could conduct it. The first aspect would be training, sir. The second would be enablement through technology, wherein pre-populated forms would be there that could help them in terms of deduplication and understanding of the house-to-house analysis. This is also supported by Supreme Court to a certain extent that technology-based deduplication can be helpful. These are the two primary aspects that I would focus on.
Okay, I'll give you a comment on that subsequently. But in terms of regional diversities, in terms of economic development in Odisha, what is your take?
So the regional diversities of Odisha are very different in terms of the developmental aspect. The northern Odisha and the southern Odisha are comparatively less developed as compared to the central Odisha, the coastal Odisha aspect. Western Odisha has certain growth poles in them. For example, the Rourkela, the Sundargarh area, the Jharsuguda area. But apart from that, the general developmental comparison, if has to be made, is lesser in compared to the coastal Odisha.
So, why is that so?
Per se, sir, two primary reasons come up to my mind. So, considering there are revenue limitations and expenditure limitations to the government way of functioning, government has been focusing at certain areas in terms of development more than the others, while policies have been crafted, for example, for the KBK region as well as the Western Odisha as well through Western Odisha Development Council. But the impact of the same has been minimal, and the expenditure budget for these has been lower as compared to the coastal areas, primarily because of the importance associated with them. So that is the reason, I guess, the disparity exists.
Do you think this is a governance failure in Odisha?
So this is more of a result of pragmatic governance with certain foundational limitations, because we are a growing democracy and we have certain limitations as a challenge to it. So, sir, I believe that is the reason.
No, but the governance is supposed to be just. And if justice is not being given to some people in the states, then won't you be calling it a governance deficit?
So to a certain extent, it would mean limited governance success as well. While efforts are being made uh, in a integrated manner towards that. For example, in KBK, the strawberry farming and dragon fruit farming has started recently to increase the livelihood opportunities of the people. So developmental aspects are being taken up in a decentralized grassroots manner as against the earlier approach of top down, which was taken up in case of the coastal Odisha. So it is taking time, but it will, of course, fruition in the near future, is what I understand.
Do you know about the health and education indicators of Odisha?
Sir, I am yet to prepare on those two aspects, sir.
Because education, the level of education, level of healthcare,
Yes, sir.
comparable to other states and national leverage, you're
Yes,
not
sir.
prepared, it seems.
No, sir, I am yet to prepare, sir.
Okay. About Odisha, do I ask you a few other questions?
So please do, sir.
Okay. Tourism, if you talk about tourism in Odisha,
Yes, sir.
smaller states like Kerala and some others, they've been doing so well with such a rich history and architecture. Odisha is lagging behind in tourism. What could be done about it?
So, so as you mentioned, with a rich history and architectural aspect, Odisha's focus in terms of tourism has primarily been with regards to historical and architectural tourism. But as per my understanding, Odisha needs to diversify its facets and bouquet of tourism offerings, starting from the trekking and the tribal stay tourism to development of the beaches to make it similar to Goa-like experiences, to on homestays where people can experience unique and authentic Odia food, is what would be the approach that would ensure Odisha's tourism bouquet is more diversified and hence propel it further. So,
Okay. Don't you think there is lack of infrastructure? Say you want to go to Fulbani, Daringwadi. Would he take that kind of adventure risk reaching that place? Is it workable? Don't you think there is an infrastructure deficit, which is the main reason?
the infrastructure.
Yeah, because you say you will develop homestay, you will develop very good photography points and everything, but somebody going from Delhi, reaching Daringwadi, suppose.
Yeah.
So the way one reaches there and the way the accommodations and other things are there, or the roadside food eateries, are they developed? Are you tourism ready to invite people in Odisha?
I understand, sir. Sir, in terms of the nature of tourism, the kind of infrastructure that is required is very different. For example, sir, in case of the tourism which is associated with architecture and places to visit, parallel hotel and recreational infrastructure is becoming very crucial. But in case of, let's say, homestays or authentic tribal stays, the present infrastructure can be refurbished and it is actually going to be brilliant, sir, in terms of that. Because the authenticity of the forest and the ecosystem that we have is what they're trying to experience. Sir, also including, for example, Diomali, the visit, the travel to Diomali and everything accordingly would be difficult because railway connections are fragmented. But infrastructure at Diomali can be made into makeshift camps wherein major treks are undertaken. That is something that is done in Uttarakhand as well in case of Kedarkant and many other treks where makeshift camps are what help the tourists enjoy the experience better. So,
Okay. Now, my last question to you.
so,
To a non-Odia person,
so
Sandeep Saab would be interested in visiting Odisha for good Odia food.
Sir,
How do you market it to Sandeep Saab, who's not from Odisha?
sir, I would speak about two primary aspects. Sir, I would of course ask Sandeep sir about his taste as well and his
Forget about
preferences.
taste. He is a internationally traveled person.
Sir,
He is a railway person, so he knows about different kind of food choices. So now, what you can offer so that he leave aside other recipes or menus and then go for Odisha food. You say you are a marketing person now for Odisha food. How do you market?
the first USP that Odisha offers is the diversity in terms of Chapan Bhog that is there in the Jagannath temple. That is something itself that is worth exploring, the whole gamut of offerings that is there. The second uniqueness that Odisha has is the diversity in terms of vegetarian food that we have. Starting from dalma to ghanto to every form of Odia cuisine that has a lot of vegetarian food in it is very unique to the state. The third is the aspect of the snacks and sweets that are there that are unique for the state. For example, the puri hosts sora papudi and those kind of sweets which are very unique to the state, as well as the breakfast like offerings which are there in terms of the Ayura Aludam that have been uniquely positioned by many chefs nationally and internationally as well, is what something that I would want sir to taste and appreciate. Sir.
But he would say, I'll prefer going to Gujarat. They have lots of vegetarian choices for snacks, lunch, and dinner. You say dalama, you say santula, you say whatever. Well, it does not impress me because you are being very general. You're not talking like a marketing person. Which state does not have good choices of snacks, good choices of vegetarian food, good choice of lunch and dinner? You didn't say anything extra. Why should anybody be attracted towards your recipe?
Sir, I cannot compare food in terms of what would be good and what would be bad, but these are
Okay.
the unique offerings that
Okay,
Odisha.
that's all from us.